Welcome to the Bywords Show. I'm your host, Hannah Hughes. Bywords is all about equipping women for purposeful living by starting conversations, celebrating stories, and inspiring faith. In a world that applauds the hustle, I'm here to help you break free from the lies and come back to what really matters. It's time to get real, get rooted in truth, and come alive in relationship with Jesus so you can show up to each day with intention and confidence no matter where you're at in your story. Here we believe that embracing our stories brings hope, healing, and purpose to the process, and sharing our stories helps others do the same. Whether you're looking for a midweek faith refresh, practical tools for pursuing your dreams, or just need some good old-fashioned girl talk, you're in the right place. Grab your latte and let's dive in. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Bywords Show. Today is the day, and I'm so glad you're here. This episode is going to be a little different, but I'm honestly really pumped to talk about it because if you've been following me on social media, you probably saw that I walked 100 miles in March. I actually just got back from a walk, which is why I'm looking a little grungy today, but we're just gonna roll with it. I was inspired to sit down and record. I got my latte right here, and I just wanted to share with you about my experience because y'all, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but this walking challenge has changed my life and I cannot shut up about it. So let me just share a little bit about my experience and then convince you that you should do a walking challenge as well, or just go for a walk. Y'all know the drill. Go ahead, take a screenshot, tag me on social media, let me know that you are here, and then come right back so we can dive in because I have got a lot of really good information to share with you today. I was doing my little Google research. I have some cool stats and information. I'm such a nerd about that kind of stuff. So hopefully this is also interesting to you. But basically, I was talking recently, I think it was in the episode Motherhood Matters. I was talking about how I was sharing with my therapist about how I just felt like so stretched in my life. And she really encouraged me to find ways to fill up my cup in small doses. And then I saw this walking challenge. My friend Gretel, who's also been on the podcast, posted that she was doing this 100 miles in March walking challenge. And I was like, you know what? I have been wanting to do something to move my body postpartum, to start feeling better in my body. And this seems like the perfect challenge because it's not crazy extreme, like 75 hard. It's a 30-day commitment or 31 days in March. And it just seemed like something that I could slowly start working my way up to without feeling like I had to change my whole life in 30 days, which I needed this so much more than I can even explain, y'all. I was feeling so discouraged at the beginning of March, honestly, January, February, going into the new year, just feeling kind of like icky in my body postpartum, like just feeling like I don't have the energy. Obviously, I'm sleep deprived. The postpartum season is tricky. It's challenging. It's exhausting. But I just wanted to do something to take care of my body without becoming so extreme because I don't know if you've heard me talk about this before, but after I had Jude, our son, who's now 4, I was really extreme about my weight loss postpartum and just like the way that I took care of my body. And granted, I had a great experience. Like I felt so good after having our son, but because I lost weight pretty quickly, it affected my milk supply and I had a lot of anxiety and stress around that. And I was really overwhelmed and long term, it just wasn't sustainable. So this time around, I really wanted to do something that was more sustainable, that wouldn't make me feel so legalistic about it because if you don't know, I have an eating disorder background and sometimes food and body and that kind of stuff, like tracking calories and tracking working out and stuff like that can still feel kind of overwhelming and extreme to me. It's easy for me to get extreme about those things, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I can very easily start to obsess about those kinds of things and I did not want to do that. I knew that would just send me on a spiral that would end up nowhere good. So this time when I saw this walking challenge, I was like, you know what? This is great. Let's give it a try. It's okay if it's not perfect, but this is a good, opportunity for me to start moving my body some more. And I told Christopher about it. I was like, I really want to do this challenge. It's just 1 month. It's a walk every day. I really think it would be so good for me to move my body. And he held me accountable. The days I didn't want to walk, Christopher was like, you need to go on your walk. We're all going together. And I would be like, oh, it's getting dark outside. He was like, I don't care. We'll walk in the dark. We're going to do it. Like, he really held me accountable in a super encouraging way that made me feel like I can do this. And so in the beginning, we walked a lot as a family. And then as Jude was like getting back in school and Christopher got busy with work stuff again, I started walking on my own, like when we got back from our trip. And I'll talk more about like logistics as we get into this, but really it was so nice. First of all, having accountability. I posted my little tracker on Instagram as well. So I knew people were watching me do this. And I was like, I want to do this for me, but like I also have this accountability. Like I want to do this for my family. I want to create a habit, a routine that's really simple, that has so many benefits, and that's actually going to like be something I can complete without becoming like crazy obsessed about it. So I was going back to my counselor last week or the week before, and I was telling her about this challenge because I have been talking to her about how, like I'm trying to do simple things to help my mental health without, having to stay on meds forever and those kinds of things. And she said, really, the most important things you can do for your mental health are taking care of your body, proper nutrition, moving your body, those kinds of things, and getting good sleep, which y'all, I listened to an audiobook called Why We Sleep this month when I was on my walks, and I learned so much about sleep. This year, better sleep is one of my biggest goals also. So I've just like been really geeking out about that. But anyway, I was telling her about how I started walking, and she was like, you could not have chosen something better for your like little doses, because walking hits so many things. Like it ticks so many boxes. You're getting outside, you're moving your body, you're connecting with the kids or your family, or just like having alone time for yourself. And you're doing a left-right movement with your body, which actually stimulates the brain, like an EMDR style brain processing, which we'll get into later. I could literally talk about this all day, but I was just like, okay, like I feel really good about this. We're moving in the right direction. This challenge seems to be exactly what I needed for this season of my life. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience, because I can honestly say on the other side of those 31 days of walking, I did complete the 100 miles. I did it. We went through crazy car problems. We were on vacation. I skipped some days. I had mastitis. Like I didn't do this perfectly every day, y'all, but I had accountability and motivation, and I just showed up when I could, how I could, and I made it happen. And I am just honestly so proud of myself and so encouraged to see what my body is capable of, because it wasn't like I ran a marathon, but I still pushed myself and saw results from that. So I'm so excited to share with you about it. As we dive into this, I wanted to share a couple stats and like some data and things like that, because I just love that. So I Googled some benefits of walking, and there are honestly so many, but here are some that I think are just super important and that I also have experienced in those 30 days that I was walking and right now as well, because I'm actually doing the challenge again for the month of April. First one, it can improve your mood. I mean, being outside, moving your body, just like a low impact workout like that can do so much for your mental state. Secondly, it's great for your cardiovascular health. I mean, without doing something super strenuous, you're still getting that blood pumping, you're still improving your cardio health. Like it is just, it just makes you feel so good. Have you ever had that feeling after a good workout where you pushed yourself, but you're not like totally depleted and you're like, man, I just feel so good. I feel so energized. Like my body just feels strong, and it is the best feeling in the world. Like that's how I feel after these walks. Another thing is it improves your sleep. I saw this so much. I think just like from the way you move your body, I mean, obviously you're burning calories, but also just being outside and just engaging your body in this activity, and for an extended amount of time too, because I mean, this challenge that I did, you walk about 3.5 miles a day, and it like really uses your energy in a good way. And so I have been sleeping better. And along with that, walking can actually reduce stress, which we love. Hello, I'm all about that. I'm like, yes, please. I love it because you really do have to engage your body, your mind in the moment. Like you're moving your body, and then you're also like breathing, but not at a rate that's super, like I said, strenuous. And then you're giving your mind time to process. And it is just so freeing. I mean, if you are someone who likes to listen to podcasts, audiobooks, music, or whatever while you're walking, I mean, just having the space to clear your head and be present, but just like let your body move, to me was so peaceful and so relaxing. I mean, I just really did notice a shift in my anxiety because I felt like walking was a perfect outlet for that stress because I was moving my body. And then I also gave my brain a break. Something else I thought was super interesting is that walking can boost brain power. And I read this article when I was researching, and it says in one study, brain scans of people who walked briskly 1 hour 3 times a week showed the decision making areas of their brain worked more efficiently than people who attended education seminars instead. Wild, right? Then it says other research shows physical exercise like walking can improve brain function in older women. Experts think these benefits could be due in part to increased blood flow to the brain that occurs with exercise. So when you get your feet moving, your brain starts working better too. Isn't that so cool? Walking stimulates the whole body, like your brain, your body, your breathing, it's everything. And without having to exert yourself like beyond your limits. You know what I mean? It's just so cool the way that our bodies were designed to function that way, where when we're outside, when we're moving our bodies, like it's a whole body experience where we are stimulating not only our physical body, but also our brain, our breathing. Like it's just so cool how it all works together like that. Another part of this that's super cool is when you're walking, you're also stimulating your digestive system because you're stimulating that rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. And you're also triggering your immune system, which is super cool. Something else that I actually noticed right away when I first started walking, like I would say in the first few days of consistently walking, this is one of the first things I noticed and thought was incredible. It enhances your creativity. Like that sounds so random, but it's so true. It just like gives your brain, again, space to process and think, and you're outside and you're just like inspired and it's refreshing, I guess. And so for me, like there were so many moments on my walks where I would get a cool idea or feel inspired to do something new. It like lights up that center of your brain where you're able to think more creatively, which I think is so fascinating and really cool. And then last one here, it can add years to your life, literally. So that same article that I referenced earlier said this: walking can seriously help you add years to your life, and it doesn't take much to see results. In fact, one study found that people who did just 10 to 59 minutes of moderate exercise, like brisk walking, per week had an 18% lower risk of death during the study period compared to those who were inactive. Meanwhile, people who completed the recommended 150 minutes of weekly exercise in at least 10-minute spurts had a 31% lower risk of death. Other research shows that the faster you walk, the more your risk drops. The longer life benefit is believed to come from the cardiorespiratory workout that walking provides. Wild, right? Like to me, this is like such maybe elementary knowledge, but to me, honestly, after experiencing it for myself, which it's literally just walking, you know, but I really did notice such a change in my body and in my mind and just the way that I feel physically and also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Like I feel like walking consistently, maybe it's the getting outside piece, maybe it's the mix of all of it working together, but I just felt so energized and refreshed and re-inspired. And I was honestly amazed. Because walking is so simple, right? Like it's so simple, but it really does have all of these crazy benefits to it. And I just really love that it's such an attainable challenge because, okay, so here's like the logistics. For me, when I would walk 3 miles, it usually took me about an hour, which is about 7,000 steps. So almost your full steps for the day in 1 hour of walking, which is wild. I mean, that's not even counting all of the mom miles, which is all of like the cleaning and walking back and forth between rooms and like carrying loads in from the car and going back and forth, you know, all of that combined, like there's no telling how many steps moms actually walk in a day. But for that dedicated time that I was walking, I would give myself 1 hour a day. Super, super manageable, super attainable. And like I said, I wasn't perfect. I missed a few days. There were days that I was sick. There were days that we were in a car all day traveling. There were days when my walk was shorter. And there were days when I felt really good and I would walk longer. So it kind of just evened out. But I was really lenient. Like I gave myself a lot of grace to complete this challenge. And I'm so glad I did because it wasn't about just like doing it perfect and ticking off the box, like completing the goal. It was really about like, I want to do this well. I want to enjoy this. And honestly, the first couple of days, I was like, I love this. I'm so glad I'm doing this for myself, but also for my family. Because, man, I remember when I had Jude, I had him at the end of 2019. And then obviously 2020 is when the world shut down. And I would go on so many walks with him. And I just remember that being one of the sweetest seasons because I was able to spend time with him. But I also kind of like had that moment to myself also because he was like in his own little world. Or like when I go on a walk now with Della, she'll nap in the stroller and I just have that time to like listen to my audiobook, listen to worship, a podcast, whatever I want to do, just like fill my cup or even just sit in silence for a while. Like it has just been so nice. There were a few days in March where it was rainy and gross weather and I couldn't get outside, but I looked up walking workouts, indoor workouts on YouTube, and y'all, it's a thing. There's this girl, you may have heard of her, Grow with Joe is her username. She's amazing. She's a believer, but she has got so many fun workouts. And there's this one, it's a 1 mile indoor workout and it's like 15, 16 minutes. So you can do it a couple times if you want to do the challenge and get in 3 miles. But I literally held Della for some of it and you could like do it with your kids. Like it was honestly so fun. And I feel like that's what everybody says, you know, when they talk about working out or finding routines that work for you have to find something that's fun because if you don't enjoy it, it's not going to be sustainable. So for me, this one was actually really fun as well as beneficial and something that I will continue to do because y'all, let's see. On top of walking, I also had conversations with friends. Like there were times that I went to the park to walk with a friend, and sometimes Christopher and Jude would go with me and Della on our walks. And so we would have family time together. And then other times I just got to listen to my audiobooks. I think I actually listened to 4 audiobooks, like completed 4 or 5 audiobooks during my walks. And crazy, right? But if you think about it, averaging about 1 hour a day, that's 31 hours in a month to yourself on a walk. Like what in the world you could, the possibilities are limitless what you could do with that time. So I listened to books, I listened to music. I had times when I was sending voice messages to friends, you name it. Like it was just such a fun time for me. But I want to circle back really quick to the mental health piece because to me, this is one of the most impactful pieces of this process. Because when I was telling my therapist about how I was loving going on these walks and it was really helping me, I pointed out to her that I also noticed a change in my son's behavior. And y'all, this is wild. And it makes so much sense. That's exactly what my therapist said. She was like, I'm not surprised at all. Like it really does make so much sense that this is happening. But we went on some walks with Jude. And in the first week or so, we noticed a huge shift in his behavior and like his overall mood. Not that he had any issues before, but like he's a 4-year-old boy. So he's got high energy. He's go, go, go. He's always got to get his hands in something, you know? When we were going on these walks with Jude, you could just tell like he would light up going on these walks and just telling us about his day and talking about things that were on his mind and asking questions about like bugs or plants we saw. And it was so much fun. And the rest of the time, like we just noticed, wow, he's like really responding well to instructions at home, or he's so much more willing to help with things, or so much more, you know, patient if Della is crying and that kind of thing. And when I was explaining that to my therapist, she was like, absolutely makes sense because walking is similar to EMDR, which I will break down in a second in case you're not familiar with that. It's similar because it stimulates your brain because it's a left and right movement. So obviously when you're walking, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, that kind of activity stimulates our brain and helps us to process and like basically our body like gets things under control that have kind of been going haywire. If you listen to I think it's the episode Things I Learned in Therapy, I'll link it in the show notes in case you want to like go back. I'll also link the articles that I referenced just in case you want to learn more as well. I found this so fascinating. But EMDR is basically eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. What that means, basically, like super basic version of EMDR, because I'm not an expert, I just really geek out about this kind of stuff. Your brain processes information by rapid eye movement. So you may have heard about this in regards to REM sleep. This is also another reason I thought it was so cool that I was learning about sleep this month as well. When you have REM sleep, rapid eye movement, your eyes are going back and forth rapidly. And that's actually your brain processing all the information it hasn't gotten a chance to access or like sort through during the day. Most of the time, it's because we are focused on other things, we're stressed, we're not able to get to a state where our body can actually focus on processing our subconscious thoughts. Most of our energy throughout the day is focused on our conscious thoughts, what we're doing, task at hand, running around with kids, those kinds of things. But when we are asleep, our body is still, it's digesting, it's processing information from the day. We're having that rapid eye movement. So, long story short, EMDR is a type of therapy that stimulates right and left, like rapid eye movements to help your brain process what's going on in your subconscious. So a lot of the times it will be with a light bar or something where a light is going back and forth and the therapist is asking you to follow the light with your eyes. Or I personally had an experience with a therapist who did a similar thing, but I would follow her fingers back and forth. But basically it gets your eyes going in that back and forth motion, the movement, to help you start processing things that are subconscious, like beneath the surface, you really wouldn't get to otherwise. This is great for processing trauma. It's incredible what the research has shown it can do for people who have suppressed trauma, past experiences, PTSD, things like that, y'all. Oh my gosh, it's just so cool. I could talk about it forever. Walking stimulates that same kind of rhythmic processing in our body, because when we do a right-left movement, it's stimulating both of our sides of the brain to work in harmony to start sorting that kind of stuff. So I found another article about this whole thing, like benefits of walking therapy is what they call it. And this is what the article says. Additionally, the rhythmic movement of walking might be therapeutic in and of itself. This type of movement has been proven to stimulate the connecting between the right and left hemispheres of the brain and in turn facilitates emotional processing. In fact, EMDR founder Dr. Francine Shapiro discovered this process while walking. How crazy, right? I just think that's so amazing. Like the fact that God designed our bodies so intricately, and the fact that someone even found out this was a thing. Like, can you imagine? I have just experienced such a sense of peace during these walks. And that was one of the biggest changes I noticed, was that I felt like I could actually give myself space to process, some of the things that I had been feeling, some of the things I was worried about, some of the things I was thinking about, things that I needed to get to, but I hadn't given myself time to actually process, I was able to do on these walks. All in all, I think by now you can probably tell I'm an advocate for walking in this challenge, but I would say my top 3 things that I took away from March, my 100-mile walking experience, were number 1, my mood and my energy shifted. Honestly, I think just having a goal and something really simple to focus on accomplishing each day energized me, because it, like I said, hit so many boxes in one. I'm getting outside, I'm having time with my kids, I'm listening to podcasts or audiobooks, moving my body, feeling productive. It's a win, 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 win. Secondly, the changes I noticed in my body. I was really reluctant to share anything about the physical changes I saw during this challenge because it's not a weight loss challenge. And truthfully, I do have a goal of losing weight this year, but like I said, I want to do it in a really sustainable, healthy way where it's not something that becomes obsessive or, diet-ish in any way. But for the month of March, while I was doing this 100-mile walking challenge, I made a promise to myself that I was not going to get on the scale at all until the end of the month. So I have been tracking measurements and weight. I have a little note in my phone where I check 1 time a month. That's it. I don't get on the scale every day. I don't want to know. I don't need to know. I know that it won't do anything helpful for my mental health. So I decided at the beginning of March, I weighed myself on day 1. And at the end of March, I weighed myself again. And guess what? I weighed exactly the same. However, I did, like I said, take measurements, and I noticed that I had lost an inch or so off my waist and my legs. The crazy thing is, y'all, I am so glad I didn't check the weight. I didn't check my scale at all during the challenge, because I think if I would have felt really discouraged and tried to either push myself more and become more extreme about it, or I would have just gotten really frustrated and discouraged and defeated and given up. And I am so glad I didn't, because the thing is, I didn't change anything else about my lifestyle at all. All I did for the month of March was add in these walks. And I was shocked. Like I told Christopher afterwards, I was like, I just weighed myself after walking 100 miles and I weigh exactly the same. And he was like, no way, really? I was like, yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? Like, I feel 100 pounds lighter. Like, I feel so good in my body. I never would have guessed. Like, even the way my clothes fit, I feel more confident. It's like, I feel like I'm a cute girl on my walks, you know? And I just want to say, like, if you start walking, or doing any kind of fitness, wellness journey, whether it's food, body changes, for exercise, whatever, don't make it about the number on the scale, because then you'll give up if it's not moving the way you want it to. And I just have to say, like, that was a huge moment of freedom for me. Well, first of all, not weigh myself for the whole month. And then secondly, like, to be okay with the fact that the number didn't change, because I feel different. I feel so good. I feel so confident in what my body has been able to accomplish. And I may not be where I want to be as far as the size of clothes I'm wearing or something like that, but I am just so grateful that I completed the challenge, because my body just feels stronger. Like, the fact that I'm able to go out and walk for an hour, 3 miles every day, like, what a gift to be healthy, to be able to move my body. I know so many people who can't do that. I don't ever want to take that for granted. And that's something that has come up in my mind over and over again on these walks. So that was the physical changes that I noticed. Number two. Number three, kind of as I mentioned already, the mental clarity and the peace that I've experienced, it's just unmatched, you know? Like, I've had so many moments on my walks where I noticed that shift. Like, in my mindset, I would consciously realize, wow, like, I don't feel as anxious as I did a few weeks ago. Like, I don't feel as stressed. I don't feel as rushed, I guess. Like, there's so much more to this. I feel like God has really done a deep work in my heart in the past few months, and I will probably share more about that in an upcoming episode. But I'm so, so grateful that this challenge came at a time when it did, because it's such a simple way to give your body and your mind space to just breathe and process. I've had moments of inspiration where I've literally stopped on my walk to take notes on my phone for ideas for a podcast episode, ideas for, like a project or something I want to do. Or I've thought of somebody on my walk and I've really quickly just sent a text or a voice message, and I've prayed for people, or I've just like spent time thanking the Lord for all that he has done for me. And even the fact that Easter was during the month of March when I was doing this is just a lot of it was really timely, and I just think so. There's just a lot to it. I left that challenge feeling really grounded and really grateful, and I can't recommend it enough. I'm actually doing the challenge again this month with a friend of mine, Molly Wilcox, who's also been on the show before. She messaged me and was like, hey, I love this. Would you want to do it together? And would you also want to make a group so that we can do it with whoever else wants to, and like encourage and pray for each other, cheer each other on? And I was like, yes, I love it. Let's do it. And I at first was like, oh my gosh, I just did this 100-mile challenge. Do I want to do it again? But I'm so glad I am, because already I feel just even more energized being able to do it with other women. I think we've got over 30 people in this group now walking with us. So if you are interested, like if you're listening to this in the month of April and you want to jump in with us, send me a DM. I'll send you our little tracker. You can join the group. It's so fun. We're like sending pictures of ourselves on our walk and sharing prayer requests and sharing wins. And I just want to share one more thing before I close, because this is something actually that Molly sent in our group this morning. In the Bible, it talks a lot about how Jesus broke bread with people a lot, and, had a lot of experiences over meals and did a bunch of miracles and healed people and all of that. But he also walked a lot. And of course, that was the norm for their day. But there's something significant there that I had never noticed before. She sent the passage where it's talking about the road to Emmaus, and it's obviously right after the resurrection. So we've just come off of Easter weekend, and then she sends this passage that I really had never noticed before. Let me just pull up this passage really quick, because when she sent it, I was like, no way. I knew I was recording this today, and I was like, I have to include that. Molly, it's so good. Okay, this is from Luke 24. It's verses 13 through 35. Shout out to Molly. This was so good. I won't read the whole thing. I'll do a little Hannah paraphrase. But basically, on the road to Emmaus, they're walking, talking together, and then Jesus comes up with them. And he's like, hey, what are we talking about? And one of the guys says, are you new here? Like, do you not know what's going on? They start explaining, oh, this guy Jesus, like he was this powerful guy, this prophet, and they ended up crucifying him. But this morning, these ladies went to the tomb and he wasn't there. And we don't know what's going on. And Jesus said to them, how foolish are you? How slow to believe that all the prophets have spoken? Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory? And then he starts explaining everything from the beginning, like with Moses, the prophets. and all the scriptures concerning himself, it says. And then they get to their stop. The guys say, hey, stay with us. And Jesus stayed with them. And then in verse 30, it says, when he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. And their eyes were opened. They recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. Hi, Della. And then verse 32, this is the whole reason I wanted to bring this up. It says, they asked each other, were our hearts not burning within us when he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us? And it just really sparked something in me to think about that on my walk today, because I was like, man, God is with us, on our walks in our day-to-day, he's right here with us. I had so many moments on my walks where I just felt like, God, I see that you're right here. And my pain right now, the things that I'm praying for, the things that I'm stressed about, but right here, thank you that you're with me today. And I just felt those moments in my heart, when you just get stirred up and you're like, I know this is the Lord. I know God is doing something in my life, and I know he's speaking to me. I know he's here. Those moments to me are enough on their own for me to encourage you to get outside and take a walk today. You just never know what God can do with your undivided attention, even if it's for 15 minutes on a walk in your neighborhood. So that's all I have for you today. I hope that I've influenced you to go for a walk. Like I said, I'll link the therapy episode I talked about. I'll link those articles that I referenced. And then come say hey. Send me a DM on Instagram if you want to join the walking club, or if you want inspiration for that, or the little tracker that we're using. I think you would love it. It'd be so fun to do it together. I'd love to have that accountability. But that's all for today, my friends. Cheers and have a great weekend. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to tune into another episode of the Byword Show. I love having you here, and I am truly so thankful for your support. Don't forget to share a screenshot of this episode to let me know you were here, and quick favor, if you enjoyed this episode, would you take a second to leave a review? It really helps our community grow. If you want more, you can shop my books Waking Up and Love Is at thehannahhughes.com or on Amazon, and be sure to join my email list for all the latest news. I can't wait to chat again soon, but in the meantime, be sure to come connect with me on social media, and remember, I'm cheering you on.